Hey everybody, welcome back to A Better Computer. My name is Matt, and I talk about a lot of apps on this channel. So many apps, it's really hard to keep up sometimes, but I like to try the new stuff to see what's good, what's not, what's really exciting, and I try to share the best things with you guys. And at the end of the year, or we're close to the end of the year at least, I wanted to kind of do a review of what apps have really changed in my head in terms of how much value I get from them over the course of 2021. So I have a list of 8 apps that I think have gotten much better or notably better over the past year, and then a few that I think I've gotten a little cold on. And I don't necessarily dislike these apps, but I think that they didn't really keep up with some of the other things I've really been enjoying, and I hope that they bounce back in 2022. So let's jump into the list. I've got 12 apps I think I'm going to talk about today, 8 that I think are moving in the right direction, and 4 that I really hope have a better 2022. So the first app I have to talk about is Craft. Craft is a note-taking app, and when I asked on Twitter what some of the apps you guys think improved the most over 2021 were, Craft came up more than anything else. People love, love, love Craft. Now, I haven't made any videos about the app because I don't actually use it. I use it occasionally for some work that I do, but it doesn't have a day-to-day spot in my life, so I haven't really made a video about it because I don't think I have much to add, unfortunately. But if you take notes, if you aren't totally happy with your note taker right now, you should definitely check out Craft. It's totally free. It has a really generous free option, I think. And then there is a premium option that has some unlockable features and everything. You don't have to pay for it to use it. You can definitely try it out and see if it fits your use case for free. But yeah, check it out. See if it works for you. It doesn't work for me, but that doesn't mean that I dislike it at all. I think that the updates they've pushed over the past year have grown the product immensely. It's much better today than it was at the start of the year. I think the app launched like literally a year ago. It's grown so much. It's gotten so much acclaim. It's gotten so much just love from the community, and I think it's totally warranted. So if you take notes, if you aren't happy with what you have, give Craft a shot. Next up is Carrot Weather, and Carrot Weather is, oh boy, Carrot Weather is fantastic. It's been good for years, but one of the things about weather apps that is always challenging is, much like task managers, they're really personal. They're really catering to specific needs that different people have, and what's right for me may not be right for you. And so if I love a certain weather app, you may not like it because different information is relevant to you. You like it laid out a different way. And what made the updates to Carrot this year so impressive, and what made it get onto this list for me, is the fact that you can now build your own weather app interface in Carrot. You can choose what elements do you want to show on the screen. How big do you want them to be? How do you want them to look? How do you what sort of information is important to you? You can get just that, make the perfect weather app for you, and leave out everything else that you don't actually need. So I think that's super, super powerful and makes it worth it if you're willing to put in, it's literally just a few minutes. I made a whole other video that walks through kind of how this works. But yeah, it's so well done. It's let me craft the exact weather experience that I want, and that's super, super valuable to me. So even though Carrot Weather costs a couple bucks a month, to me, it's worth it because it's given me the weather app that I've always wanted, complete with radar, complete with notifications for precipitation and everything. It's just fantastic. I love, love, love Carrot Weather. Next up, we've got Lightroom, which comes from Adobe, and it's their photo editor. And I've been trying to get off Lightroom basically all of 2021. I've used tools like Capture One on my Mac, but it doesn't work because there's no mobile app. I've tried Pixelmator, different options, Pixelmator Photo for the iPad, but there's no Pixelmator Photo for the Mac or the iPhone, so I can't, it's just not super universal. Lightroom has always been universal, at least since the CC version came out. So that's something that I've always really liked about it. And in 2021, I feel like they really upped their game with making Lightroom more appealing and have really made me more of a fan than I was at the start of the year. Some of the big things that I think they've released were just recent, but have really kind of moved the needle for me. The way you can do selections now is so great. You used to just kind of have to kind of paint over the sections you wanted to select. Now there's smart object selection, there's sky selection, there's all sorts of different ways you can create incredible masks that you can make edits to, selective edits on exactly the parts of the photo you want in ways that were much harder before. So I'm really happy about that. And then the thing that's actually really cool is if you're an Adobe CC subscriber, you get access to these premium presets that you can use that Adobe's created. There's AI suggested ones that you can use based on the sort of photo that you're taking. It analyzes like what's the content, what's the color scheme. Here's some ones we've seen other people use we think you'll enjoy as well. And these are really good. So as someone who is always like looking around for new preset packs, I don't buy very many of them, but I'm always kind of like interested in them. I think Adobe has some really good options here that are both really stylistic if that's what you're looking for, and more subtle if you want something a little more subtle. And it's really great that you can kind of look through these packs that they've created, or if you go through the recommendations, you can tweak those recommendations to be like, just show me subtle ones, or just show me black and white ones. You can really find the right sorts of presets that are going to work for you without spending a penny outside of your Adobe subscription, I guess, but without paying for these like really expensive, in some cases, preset packs. You may want to support those artists, and I totally get that. You totally should keep doing that. But it's really great to have this kind of fallback option for people who don't necessarily need to do that. Then there's Matter, and Matter might be my app of the year, definitely my new app of the year. It is so good. It launched a few months ago. I was using it for about a month or two before that in a beta, and it's just so great. Basically, if you don't know what it is, it's a read later app in the vein of Instapaper or Pocket. But it's just a nicer experience, in my opinion. There's some social aspects to it, so you can follow some people. It makes it easy to follow people who you like follow on Twitter and see what they're reading, what they're highlighting. They have a nice like weekly email with some popular articles that are really good, and I've gotten some really good stuff out of there. So that's fantastic. The reading experience is good, which is nice. It runs on the iPhone, iPad, and the Mac if you want to use it on the Mac. But I really like it on the iPad. It works well with the Apple Pencil, where you can highlight super quickly. And I love that those highlights will automatically sync over, if I'd like them to my Readwise account, which I don't actually use, but I know a lot of people do, or Notion. So I have a Notion board set up with all the things I've highlighted. So I have this database basically of here's all the articles that I really enjoyed and bits of them that I thought were really good. And personally, I use this to like make link posts on my blog, to find content for my newsletter and stuff. But it's just nice to have these articles that I really liked in a nice little database in Notion. So I really, really love Matter. You should check it out. Totally free to use. I don't know what their monetization plan is long term, but as of right now, it's a free app to use to read later, and you can just try it out and see if you like it. But I really, really, really recommend it. If you currently use Pocket or Instapaper or one of those apps and aren't totally happy with it, Matter is a really, really cool new app. Then there's Notion, and Notion is just one of those apps that keeps seeming to improve all the time. But 2021 saw some really big improvements, most notably being the release of their public API. This has been a long time coming. We've been wanting it for a long time, and basically this lets you connect more things to Notion. And so if you're a developer, you can just build an integration directly to it. But what we're seeing is people using this, people who are developers already and make other apps, it's making it easier for them to create integrations to Notion. I just talked about how Matter has an integration to Notion. They may be using this new API. I assume they are. I don't know for sure, but there's all sorts of stuff you can do here. If you use Zapier or if this and that, you can connect to it and do your own automations. You can technically do it in Apple's Shortcuts app if you are savvy enough to use the API yourself. And yeah, it's just really nice to see that. They've improved the iOS experience a bit. It's still not perfect, but they've definitely improved it this year. Just a few days before recording this, they added simple tables, which was great. It was surprisingly complicated to add just a table to a page in Notion before, and now you can do that better. And honestly, just Notion is such a strong part of my workflow today. It's so essential to how I work for this YouTube channel, and I can't say enough about it. I don't pay a cent for Notion. I probably could, but really all it would get me is bigger file uploads, which I don't need. So I'm not paying anything for it, and I get so much value from it. I absolutely love this, and I am really happy to see they continue to iterate on it, continue to improve it, and I'm just a very happy customer. Then we have maybe a surprise, but Twitter. I think Twitter has improved its experience pretty significantly over the past year. Some things that they've done with photo sharing have made it a much better photo sharing destination, the way that they don't crop images in the timeline like they used to. The fact that there's full width photos in the feed on your phone, I think is really, really good. It makes these things really pop out more and is just a better kind of scrolling through my feed. I followed more photographers this year than I used to, and it's made my feed more enjoyable. It's kind of cool to just kind of see that in line between all the politics and tech stuff. There's also just beautiful photos, and they really fit in nicely there. They've also done some stuff with live audio with their Spaces feature. I don't use it a ton. I've never hosted it myself, but I do listen into shows every once in a while with people talking. Kara Swisher and Casey Newton do one every week that I really enjoy. But yeah, those things pop up every now and again, and you're like, oh, this is fun. And it's not something that I would download a whole app for like Clubhouse, but it's nice to have it in my social feed. And then Twitter Blue launched in the past couple weeks when I'm recording this video, and it's added some functionality as well. Now, you could argue that maybe this should all be free and this shouldn't be behind a subscription, but I'm actually okay paying $3 a month to Twitter because I get so much value from it. It's my favorite social network. And these new abilities to kind of customize the look of the app, this undo tweet feature is actually pretty decent, even though I wish they would kind of improve how it's implemented a little bit. See my video about Twitter Blue to see some of the details there. But yeah, I just feel like Twitter has evolved more in 2021 than it has in most previous years. It felt like it was a little more stagnant before, and it's evolved quite a bit this year. So as someone, like I said, whose Twitter is my favorite social network, I'm really happy to see these updates to the service. Then there's Drafts, and Drafts is, full disclosure, they have sponsored the channel before, but I'm a big fan of the app anyway. And I just have like a list that I'm going to go through here of all the things, the notable things that they've added in the past 11 months since January 2021. They added themes and syntax highlighting so you can have custom themes created by anyone. I am proud to say I have the third most popular theme on the Drafts directory. I'll leave a link below, but it's called Warm and Bright, and it just looks really, really nice. It's kind of a red and purple based theme, kind of based on this channel. They added some auto closing to brackets and quotes, so it's easier to write code in the app. They added a whole bunch of backlinking features that was popularized by apps like Roam Research and Obsidian, and then it went into Notion, and now it's in Drafts, and it's in Craft, and like it's everywhere. So good to see that in there. They added support, a whole new Apple Watch, I should say. There's a whole new Apple Watch from the ground up. Shortcuts for the Mac, all the iOS 15 like OCR features are in Drafts. Now they autocomplete a whole bunch of things. So if you have like Text Expander on your Mac, you can do some of that in Drafts on iOS, which is always kind of tricky to do. Yeah, there's just a ton that was released this year, and it's a one-man team. It's just one person doing this, and I think it's really, really great. I won't go on any further because, again, they have sponsored us, and I don't want to necessarily give them preferential treatment. But they make this list because they made a whole bunch of updates this year that made Drafts notably better. So Drafts is a really cool app that got a ton of updates this year. And the final app that I think got a lot better this year is Ulysses. Ulysses, it didn't get remarkably better, but it added a couple features that really improved it for me. The first thing they added was the ability to kind of customize the look of the editor a little bit more than before. That's always welcome to me. I like adding a little more style to that, and so that was cool. And then the really big thing to me is that they added the ability to update previously posted articles that you posted to your WordPress, Ghost, or micro.blog site. So if you use it as a blog writer and then publisher, like I have for the past, 5, 6 or more years, then it previously was kind of annoying because you would post an article and then you'd have to go to the web interface to make updates to it. Now, what you can do is find that sheet in Ulysses, make your changes to it, and then republish, and it just updates the post. So you never have to log in to your website if you don't want to. That's super, super nice. I really love this update, and it's made it just that much better for me. It's already my favorite app for writing, and this just made it even better. Okay, and then I promised I was going to talk about 4 apps that I think have kind of cooled, in my opinion. I don't want to go too much into the weeds because this channel is mostly about things that I love and want to share with you guys. But a couple things that have fallen out of favor a little bit with me are Airtable. I've really just moved basically everything I did in Airtable. I moved it over to Notion, and that's worked better for me. Just a personal preference thing. Airtable has released a bunch of updates this year, and I think that people who are bought into it and like it seem to like those updates, but it hasn't really worked for me. Another one that's kind of had issues for me is Glass. I made a video about Glass when it came out, and I was really excited about it. I paid for the year up front for the subscription, but I've since moved the app off my home screen because I just wasn't going into it enough. I wasn't that engaged with it. They have some issues. I don't want to get into it all here. They have some issues with just engagement is very low, it seems. It's hard to find new people to follow. So there's some stuff that they need to figure out, and I hope that they do because I really do enjoy the app. It's just kind of... It's more of a ghost town than I think it was when I started. A ghost town is too strong a word or too strong a phrase for this, but it's just not quite as exciting as it was when it started. So hopefully that'll kind of improve over the course of 2022. But right now I've cooled on it a little. Halide is another app that's kind of fallen off a little bit. I made another video about Halide, and I really like Halide. It does so many things cool. It added this macro mode to all iPhones. They added an iPad app this year. So they've done things to improve the app. But there's issues with iOS, and this is more Apple's fault than the Halide app's fault, but there's issues with reliability. Sometimes you take a picture and it just doesn't save and you can't get that photo. And for me, that's unacceptable. I can't have a camera that I can't trust to actually save the photos that I take. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Hopefully Apple fixes those issues or Halide finds some sort of workaround. It sounds like it's really out of their hands. But yeah, hopefully that can improve with Halide and other third-party apps just in general going forward, because that's a really hard one because I love Halide. It's just I can't use it if I can't trust it to save photos. And the final one that's kind of cooled off a little bit on me this year is LumaFusion, which just has seemed to not advance that much this year. And it's really fallen behind the experiences I can get on the Mac with things like Final Cut Pro, with DaVinci Resolve, with ScreenFlow even. Like, these apps give me more power and more flexibility to do pretty basic things. LumaFusion has issues with a lot of things that are inherent to iPad OS, unfortunately, but also things like the limits on the number of tracks is an issue for me. It just hasn't seemed to improve that much. And then recently they announced they're working on an Android app, which is fine, which is great. I love to see that. But you can kind of see, oh, that's where some of their development resources have gone, not into making the iOS and iPad experience better like they seem to used to. So yeah, those are some apps that have soured on me. Again, I love all those apps. Like at certain points in time, at least, I've loved those apps, and I just think I love them a little less now. So hopefully they can improve in 2022 and they can get onto my, theoretically I'll do this next year, list of apps that I'm really, really excited about, have really improved. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand with some of the apps that I've talked about this year. I talk about a ton of things on this channel, so it was kind of good to go through everything and kind of just see how I feel at the end of the year, like how have things moved, just in general. And so hopefully this was helpful to you. Hopefully you found a new app that you didn't know about that you'll get to use and enjoy. If you did, drop a like down below and subscribe if you want to see me talk about apps like this on a regular basis. I would really appreciate every single one of those. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you here next time. Bye-bye.